Hi Year 3, hope you're all okay. Today I am going to show you how to create your very own version of a maths and number game called Countdown, which is one of the activities on your curriculum board for week 8. So the first thing you need are 4 large number cards, the number 25, 50, 75 and 100. You then need to mix them all up and place them face down. You then need 2 of each card from 1 to 10, which you will also mix up and place face down, but place these in a separate pile to your larger number cards from before. So I have a pile of my larger number cards here and my smaller number cards here. They've all been mixed up and placed face down. If you've got some coloured paper at home, it might be easier for you to have 2 different colours for the larger and smaller numbers, but if you've only got white like me, then that's fine as well. You now need to choose 6 numbers from your number piles, and this can be a mixture from the large and the small number piles. So I think I'm going to go for 2 large numbers and 4 small numbers this time, but you can choose. You could go for 1 large number and 5 small. You could go for 3 large and 3 small. However you want to do it, it's completely up to you. Okay, so I'm going to go for 2 large first of all. So I've got the number 50 and the number 75. I'm then going to choose my 4 small ones. So I've got the number 8, the number 2, the number 5, and the number 10. So these are my numbers. You now need to make your target number. So to do this, you need a pack of 0 to 9 number cards, again mixed up and placed face down. You're then going to choose 3 numbers to generate a 3-digit number, and that is going to be your target number. So I'm going to choose number 2, 4, 8. So I've made the number 248. That is my target number, and I've got to try and make that number using these 6 cards here. Now I can only use each card once, but I can use either addition, subtraction, multiplication or division to get to my answer. Now you can either play this by yourself, you could set yourself a timer and try and beat the clock, or you could play against somebody else at home and see who the first one is to reach the target number. So I've got to try and get to the number 248, or as close to it as I possibly can. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to use my knowledge of my 5 times tables to have a go at 50 times 5. Now, I know that 5 times 5 equals 25. And just to double check that, I've created an array that you can do as well. If you want a little bit of help with your times tables, you could use an array to help you. If you haven't got any counters at home, you could use any objects you've got at home or just draw your own array. So I've got here 5 rows of 5, and I know that that is 25. I can now use this to help me to work out 50 times 5. So if I know that 5 times 5 is 25, 50 times 5 must be 250. Because we've multiplied this 5 here by 10, we then have to multiply our answer by 10. So that brings me to 250. So I've used my 50 and I've used my 5. I've put those to one side now because I can't use them again. I've got 4 numbers left that I can use to try and get to 248. At the moment, I'm at 250. I've now got to work out how I can use any of these 4 numbers to try and get to 248. So I think I've just spotted a really good way. I think if I subtract this 2, it will get me to 248. Let's just double check. I'm going to draw a number line and I'm going to put 250 at this end, and I'm going to jump back 2 on my number line just to double check that I get to 248. So if I jump back 1, and I can record here how many jumps I've done. 250 take away 1 takes me to 249. If I then subtract another 1, make sure you record at the top how many jumps you've done, that takes me to 248. So I was right, 250 take away 2 equals 248. And I've got to my target number. Let's do one more example just to make sure we've really got the hang of it. So remember, you need your pile of larger numbers and your pile of smaller numbers. You then need your 0 to 9 digit cards here to make your target number. But first of all, we're going to select our 6 cards that we're going to need to use to make our target number. This time, I think I'm going to choose 1 larger number and 5 smaller numbers. Remember, you can choose how many you would like from each pile. So this time I've got the number 100 from my large pile. From my small pile, I've got 8, 3, 5, 10, and 4. So these are the 6 numbers I'm allowed to use. And my target number this time, I've got a 1, 6 and a 0. So my target number this time is 160. So I'm allowed to use these 6 numbers to get to the number 160. Remember, I can use addition, subtraction, multiplication or division to try and reach my answer. So I've spotted a couple of different ways that I think I could get to 160 using these 6 numbers, but I'm going to try and challenge myself a little bit this time and try and use a couple of different steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is to use my 8 and my 4, and I'm going to do 8 divided by 4. Now, by using my knowledge of my times tables, I know that there are 2 lots of 4 in 8, but I'm just going to double check that by doing some division. Okay, so I've got some counters that I can share out here. I've got 8 counters, and I'm going to share them into 4 groups, because when we are dividing, we are sharing out into equal groups. So I've got 8, and I'm going to share into 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've shared out 8 counters into 4 groups, and I can see that there are 2 in each group. So my answer, like I thought, was 2. I'm now going to use this 2 and I'm going to multiply it by 10. So I'm going to do 2 times 10. Now if I use my knowledge of my 2 times tables, I know that 2 lots of 10 make 20. Again, you can use counters or objects to help you with that. If you're not quite sure and you just want to double check, you could create an array. I'm then going to take that 20 and I'm going to multiply it by 3. Now, I'm not as confident with my 20 times tables, but I am quite confident with my 2 times tables, so I'm going to use that to help me. I know that 2 lots of 3 or 3 lots of 2 makes 6. So if I have a look at 20 times 3, I can see that the 2's been multiplied by 10, so my answer is going to be multiplied by 10. If I think about 6 lots of 10, I know that the answer would be 60. So from the steps I've done so far, I've reached an answer of 60. I've used these 4 number cards so far, so I'm going to put those to one side because I can't use those anymore. I've only got these 2 cards left and I'm trying to get to 160. Now, looking at the cards that I've got a pretty good idea of what I can do to get to 160. I'm going to take the 100 and I'm going to add it to 60. Using my place value knowledge, I know that 100 add 60 equals 160. Now, I've got some base 10 here which I can use to show you how I know that that equals 160. I've got 100 and I've got 6 tens which makes 60, so altogether I've got 160. Now I know lots of you won't have any base 10 at home, so if you want to, you could draw out your hundreds and your tens and your ones to help you if you're a little bit stuck when it comes to it. Or if you find yourself having to add together a 3-digit and a 2-digit number, you can use the written method that I showed you in the YouTube video last week. Make sure you line up your hundreds, your tens and your ones, and you can add them up using that method as well. Make sure you show whether you're adding or subtracting. So 0 add 0 makes 0, 0 add 6 makes 6, and I've got 100, which is 160. So I have reached my target number. Now I'm just going to talk you through a couple of different methods that I didn't use as part of my calculations, but you may want to when it comes to finding your answer. So these are all methods that we've learnt at school, but I'm just going to talk you through them just to remind you in case you've forgotten. It's going to start with multiplying a 1-digit number by another 1-digit number. Now previously when I did this, I used an array to help me. Now obviously you can use your times table knowledge, lots of you will be able to do that, but if you get a little bit stuck on a certain one, you can use these methods to help you. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do 3 times 4. I know that 3 times 4 is the same as 3 lots of 4. It's 4 3 times. It can also be done in the other order as well. It can be 4 lots of 3 or 3 4 times, but I'm doing 3 times 4. I've got some Numicon here that I can use to help me. Now I know lots of you won't have any Numicon at home, so if you would like some, we can send some to you for you to print out, and you can use this at home to help you if you think it will be useful, so just let us know. But I can see here, I've got 4, add 4, add 4. So multiplication can be the same as repeated addition. 4, add 4, add 4. If I count these up, I've got 4, 8, 12. I've got 12 altogether. Okay, so that's another method that I can do to help me with my times tables if I need it. Now remember, if you would like some Numicon, we can send some to you for you to print out. Okay, so that's one method. Another method for multiplying a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number is to use your place value counters. Now if you haven't got any of these at home, that's okay. You can either make your own or you can just draw them. If you find this method helpful, you can just draw them out, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so what I have done is I've created a column for my 10s and a column for my 1s. In the number 25 I can see there are 2 10s and there are 5 1s, so I've made that on each row. I've got 2 10s, 5 1s, and I've got 3 lots of 25. So I've got 25, add 25, add 25, which is the same as 25 times 3. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to add up my 1s, so I can see there are 5 on each row. I can use my 5 times tables to help me with that. I've got 5, 10, 15 1s all together. Now I'm going to add up my 10s. Got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 all together. So I've got 6 10s, which make 60. Now I've got to add up my 10s and my 1s, so I've got to do 60, add 15. Okay, so I know at the moment I've got 6 10s. If I add another 10 from here, I've now got 70. And then I've got the 5 1s to add here. So 70 add 5 equals 75. So my answer to 25 times 3 is 75. Another way that I could have done that is to use the formal written method of multiplication. So we set it up very similar to how we do when we're adding. I've got my 1s in this column, my 10s in this column. The first thing I'm going to do is to multiply. So we have to remember that we're multiplying, we're not adding. So I've put my multiplication symbol there. So first thing I'm going to do is 5 times 3. So 5 lots of 3. If I count in my 5 times tables, I've got 5, 10, 15. So I'm going to put 15 here. I make sure that I put the 1 in the 10s column. And I've got 5 1s, okay? The next thing I would do is to do 20 times 3. So it's not 2 times 3, this 2 is in the 10s column, so it has a value of 20. 20 times 3. Now I know that 2 times 3 is 6, so if I then multiply my answer again by 10, I've got 60. So I'm then going to put my 60 here, and my 0. Okay, because I've got 6 10s and 0 1s. Then going to draw a line underneath. So this is my working out. I'm now going to add these two numbers together. So I've got 5, add 0, which makes 5. And I've got 6 10s, add 1 10, which makes 7. So I get the same answer that I did before, 75. One more method we could have used for that is the grid method. So I've set out my grid and I have partitioned the number 25 into 20 and 5, and I'm multiplying it by 3, okay? First thing I'm going to do is to do 3 lots of 20. So again, as I said before, I'm going to use my knowledge of 3 lots of 2, which I know now is 6, but I'm doing it by 20 instead. So it's 60 instead of 6, so I've got to multiply it by 10. Then I'm going to do 3 lots of 5, which makes 15. Okay, and then you need to add your two numbers together. So again, we can use this method if we would like to. You might just know this in your head. 0 add 5, 5, 6 add 1 makes 7. So that's another method that you can use as well. There's lots of methods of multiplication there that you can use if you find them helpful. If you find yourself dividing a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number, again, you can use these place value counters to help you. Remember, if you've not got any at home, you could either make your own or you can just draw them. Either would be absolutely fine. And what you need to do is to think really carefully about what you are dividing by. So I've got 75 divided by 5. So I've made my 75. I've got 7 10s, I've got 5 1s, which makes 75 altogether. And I'm dividing by 5. So I've drawn out my 10s and my 1s column. And I've got 5 rows because I'm dividing by 5. So however many you're dividing by is how many rows you need. Okay. I'm then going to start off by sharing out my 10s. So I'm putting 1 on each row. So remember, when we're dividing, we are sharing equally. Okay, so I've shared out 5 of my 10s. Now I've noticed I've only got 2 left, but I've got 5 rows. And whatever I do to one row, I've got to do to the other row. So I've got to make it equal. So because I've only got 2 10s left, I'm going to make this fair by exchanging those 2 10s for 20 1s, because 10 add 10 makes 20. 2 10s is the same as 21. So I'm going to exchange those 2 10s and I'm going to bring in 20 1s. Okay, what I then need to do is share out these ones equally into my ones column. Okay, so I'm going to do that now and show you what it looks like afterwards. So I've shared out all of my ones. I made sure that I shared them equally. I started off by giving 1 to each row and I carried on until each row had exactly the same. So be really careful when you're doing that to make sure that you are sharing them out equally. Okay, now what I need to do, now I've shared out all of my counters, I need to count up how many I've got on each row to see what 75 divided by 5 is. So if I count up, I've got 1 10 and 5 1s on each row. I've got exactly the same on each row, so I know I've done it properly. 1 10 add 5 1s gives me the number 15. So I can see that 75 divided by 5, I've shared out 75 counters into 5 rows and I've got 15 on each row. So my answer is 15. The final method I'm going to show you is another one for division. So I've shown you how to use the place value counters. I've shown you how to use counters to share into equal groups. They're both great methods, but this is just one more, just in case you wanted another one to have a go at. So I'm going to do repeated subtraction using a number line. So I want to find out the answer to 25 divided by 5. I want to know how many lots of 5 go into 25. To do that, I've drawn a number line and I've put 25 at this end of my number line and 0 at this end of my number line. I'm now going to jump back in 5s and find out how many lots of 5 it takes to get from 25 to 0. I'll then add up how many 5s there are and that will be my answer. So I'm starting with 25. If I take away 5, I end up with 20. I then jump back another 5. I end up onto 15. I take away another 5. I end up on 10. I take away another 5. I end up on 5. If I take away one last 5, I end up on 0. So I now need to add up how many lots of 5 I took away. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps. So there are 5 lots of 5 that go into 25. 25 divided by 5 equals 5. So hopefully now you've got the hang of it and you can have a go at creating your own version of the game at home. Remember, you can choose how many from each pack you select as part of your 6 numbers. Try to use a timer to beat the clock. I think if you type it in on YouTube, you can actually get the proper countdown clock with the music and everything. Or you can challenge somebody else at home and see who's the quickest to get to the answer. If you find it a little bit tricky to start off with, just choose 2 numbers to generate a 2-digit number for your target number and select 6 numbers from the smaller number pile to get to your answer, just to start you off while you're getting used to it. If you really want to challenge yourself, see if you can use all 6 numbers as part of your calculations to get to your target answer. Wonder if it's possible. We can't wait to see how you get on. Make sure you send us lots of photos and videos. Enjoy!